This is a film about energy, which is variously defined as British thermal units, BTUs, calories, foot-pounds, electron volts, kilowatt-hours. It's also a film about the way we think about things. To some of you, the questions that will be asked may seem strange at first, if only because in our everyday lives we rarely bother to ask them out loud in our rational voice. But we do ask them in our dreams, in our frustrations, and in the way we live. One of the questions we will consider is, why do we use energy the way we do? Is there some pattern, some ancient genetic code that guides our behavior and therefore the way we use energy? The other side of that question is, how does living in a high-energy world affect our behavior? We don't mean to answer or solve these questions in the traditional sense. What we are really asking is, how does one thing relate to another, that in turn to another? What are the patterns that connect our lives with other lives?
In ancient China, there were whole villages that made fine porcelain pottery. It was a tradition to prepare and store the clay in caves for the future, because the aging process made the clay stronger and easier to use. The clay was not used the next year, 5 or 10 or even 20 years later. Instead, they used the clay that had been made by their great-great-great-grandfathers. The clay they made would be used 100 years later by their great-great-great-grandchildren. That's real different, isn't it? Are you listening?
You know what's really different? I mean, even in my lifetime.
What?
There's so much more power and speed. You can't guess what a difference that makes. Things even have different meanings.
I bet we used 100 times more energy than they did in the old days, before machines.
Maybe 200. You gotta melt all this stuff down once you get it out of the ground. Then it's machined and ground on, assembled, transported, sold. That all takes energy. Then we get to burn up in it whatever we've got to burn up. And the kind of energy people had before machines was natural. It was like the energy they got from the food they ate, not from oil.
Well, what's unnatural about oil? It used to be sunshine and plants, and most of the food we eat is grown from tractors and fertilizers and pesticides, and they're all made from oil.
Yeah, and more energy goes into growing it than ends up in it.
What?
That's true. There's about 10 times more energy that goes into growing and processing food than ends up in the food.
Really?
Really. It takes 10 calories of oil to get 1 calorie of cornflakes.
10 times.
Minimum. It's even more if you drive the truck to the store.
Well, you still haven't said what's unnatural about oil.
Well, it might be natural enough, but the way we use it isn't very natural.
What do you mean by natural, then?
Well, I guess what I mean is that we came into our existence in a particular way, a natural way, and for 2-3 million years, we only use the energy that our bodies made from the food we ate. And that kind of energy is the basis for our evolution. The way we were reflected the way the world was. We were connected. We were part of it.
What's natural, then, is what we evolved with.
Yeah. And that natural low-energy world's the basis for everything. Even things like love and hate, and greed, aggression, all our emotions evolved in that low-energy reality.
Our emotions evolved?
Yeah, right along with our brains. We know that place real well. We came from there.
Now we're here.
A gallon of gasoline contains about as much energy as a week and a half of a person's fine diet of about 3,500 or 3,000 food calories a day, which is more than most of the world's people get. A fast car will go through that gallon in about 10 minutes. A Concorde SST will burn it up in about 1/10 of a second. Millennia were consumed in putting the gallon together. We have to learn to see energy, not just gasoline in the tank or electricity when you flip the light switch, but steaks, paper, bottles, steel, the film, everything. We can't value a commodity whose presence we don't perceive.
Okay, this is going to be scene 5. No, it's scene 2, page 5, take 1, Catherine White's narration. Is that thing working? Okay, Catherine, anytime.
The things that make life work, basic things like breathing, blood circulation, nervous systems, emotions, and thinking, all these things were worked out in an extremely low-energy world. Living things evolved on their personal energies, so many calories a day through the leaves or through the jaws. Life was a closed circular system that ran on sunlight. There wasn't a filling station at the bend in the river. If we think of a system as a closed circular process, we could also say that a system sees itself. In other words, it sends information from some parts of the system to other parts. A system has to be able to respond to its own signals so it can control itself. There needs to be some stability and repetition. There need to be patterns, the patterns that connect it all together. Then somebody discovered the high energy store. That changed everything. We made a break in the natural system. What the system sees in a high-energy world just seems crazy because its monitors, its eyes, were made to see in a natural low-energy world. There's no control, no stability, no pattern. It's like going on vacation without a map. On a strange planet. Using so much energy puts a strain on our social systems, too, because democracy and the use of energy can grow together only to a point. A certain amount of energy lets us create the conditions for social progress. But at some point, more energy means less democracy, because large centralized energy systems mean that fewer people have control over that energy. A true participatory democracy would have to develop low-energy, diversified technologies.
Did you hear they're making people get rid of their old cars? If a car's just sitting in the backyard without a license, they can come and haul it away.
Well, if you can't keep a junker around for parts, you can't keep the old ones running. You have to buy a new one.
People don't have the right to keep their old cars, especially if they need them for parts.
I'm not sure about this, but I think the notion that we've got rights is an illusion.
What about laws?
Well, laws get passed because somebody wanted something more than somebody else, and that changes.
What about the Declaration of Independence?
The people that wrote